guys, what is up? I'm Vanessa and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of motivation food prep. This week I'm just prepping some veggies that I want to stop from going bad in my fridge so the kids will actually eat them. I'm going to share with you guys my meatball recipe that I use for freezer meals, and we're going to make some bacon because we do that every week, and I'm going to update you on some of my storage from last week. Okay, so first up here, if you remember in my last food prep video, which was about 2 weeks ago, you guys, I stored these green onions in this Rubbermaid Brilliance container with a little bit of paper towel. They are still fresh, still super crisp. If anything, I think they're crisper than when I put them in there. And you can see they've hardly changed any color. I didn't have to pick anything out. I highly recommend storing them like this. They're amazing for throwing on soups and in salads and in my Mr. Noodles, because you guys know I love that. Now, I always say that you should store your celery in water, and here it is. Now, I do change the water about every 3 days, you guys. It's as simple as 30 seconds. Dump it out, fill it back in, stick it back in the fridge. They're still super, super crisp and so good. But I find that the kids are not as quick to pull these out. So today we're going to go ahead and cut them up into sticks so that everybody will actually start eating all of this produce. So I'm sorry, but you're probably going to see me prep bacon in every food prep video because this is real life food prep, you guys. I swear by cooking your bacon in the oven, it is amazing. It's great to have it cooked and ready in the fridge for salads, if you're making baked potatoes or soups or BLTs, because I'll tell you, we're on a kick lately of BLTs. It's as simple as laying it out on a piece of parchment. It's okay if it overlaps a little bit because it is going to shrink as it cooks, but it's super easy, you guys. You throw it in the oven, 400 degrees for 20 minutes, and you have bacon for the week. So if there's one thing I can offer you guys for advice when it comes to cooking and food prep, get yourself a chef's knife. You don't need to invest $100 or $200 into a fancy knife, but I can get a Cuisinart knife block here for like $80 in Canada when it's on sale. So just keep an eye out when they go on sale. Also, if you want your stuff to last, you need to get some good containers. You don't have to invest a fortune, but these are just Rubbermaid Brilliance containers from Costco that I bought as a set. And typically I'll just set in a piece of paper towel, you guys. It helps absorb the moisture and keep your vegetables from getting moldy or going bad too quickly. So carrots aren't a normal weekly food prep for me, but I did have a bag of whole carrots in the fridge, and typically, yes, I'm guilty, I let them go bad and I end up throwing them away because it's just not something that my family loves to eat as a side, but they love raw carrots. So I decided that I was going to go ahead, chop them up, make them as readily available to them as I possibly could, stick them in these containers, and cross my fingers that they eat them. Make sure you're subscribed so you check out my next food prep and see if they actually consumed any of these. like I said at the beginning, I really emphasize storing your celery in water. So these are the Rubbermaid Freshworks containers. I've shared them with you guys before. They have this little tray at the bottom, which helps keep whatever you're storing in there from kind of stewing in its own juices. Where we're going to be filling this with water, it doesn't really matter, but I like to leave it in the container because if I store them separately, Lord knows they get lost. So here it is, stacked up. Make sure it is covered in water. Stick the lid on. You're good to go. Moving on to my meatballs, you guys. I love making meatballs for the freezer. I am not a fan of frozen or pre-made meatballs at all, and nor is anybody in my house. So they are very spoiled by Mama's homemade meatballs. So I will do them for them because I love them. And frankly, it's pretty affordable. I got about 3 pounds of ground beef for about $14. Here where I live, that's a good price, you guys. I got it at Walmart. I'm going to go ahead and make about 4 dozen of these and freeze them in 2 dozen packages. Have them available to throw in spaghettis or just to serve with meatball subs or anything we feel like eating that day. It's amazing, and I just used up our last bag. So here we are making some meatballs. I will link the recipe down below. If you guys have been following me, you know that I don't measure anything and I switch it up probably every time I make these, but everything I'm putting in today always goes into my meatballs. Sometimes I might throw something extra, but this is my base recipe. You guys are gonna love them. I always use a fork when I first start combining my meatballs or my meatloaf, whatever I'm making with ground beef, just so that I'm not diving into ketchup and mustard. Once it's all kind of covered, I'm gonna get in there with my hands and mix it up really good. Now you don't want to knead this like bread because you can get tough meatballs, but I want to make sure everything is really, really well incorporated and all of those spices and seasonings are all throughout my meatballs. Also, you might notice I didn't use any binders like eggs or breadcrumbs. Personally, I've just never felt the need to do it. However, I know when I was younger, my mom would use breadcrumbs and eggs to stretch out her meat. So if that's something that you're trying to do, absolutely throw that in there and it'll work perfectly. For me, I just like them. This is super plain and simple. I'm just using a medium-sized cookie scoop, putting them onto a tray with aluminum foil. I can fit all of them on here and I don't roll them up. I just scoop them on and squeeze them in the palm of my hand. It gives them kind of a more rustic meatball shape. I think they look more authentic, or at least that's what I tell myself. First thing we have to do is take our bacon out of the oven. Look at it, sizzling, you guys. You will never cook your bacon any other way. That I can guarantee you. I'm gonna let this sit on some paper towel just to drain. You could cook this on a rack if you want to eliminate some of that grease. Again, it doesn't really bother me that much. I am now gonna stick the meatballs back in my oven for about 20 minutes on 400. Usually they're cooking in a sauce or something, so even if they're a little bit undercooked, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and scoop this onto some paper towel. Now, this is a recipe I've shared multiple times on my channel. It's a Laura Vitale recipe. I swear by this muffin base. She shared it as her blueberry muffins, but I have made them as raspberry, as peanut butter chip. I have made them as chocolate chip, which is what we are going to do today. I am basically going to be replicating the little mini bites muffins you can get. There's like 4 or 5 in a package, but we're just going to make mini chocolate chip muffins, and I'm going to freeze half of them and store some of them for the kids to take to school this week. Love this recipe because you don't have to be super delicate with it. You never want to overmix your muffins, obviously, but I don't need to whip out an electric mixer. I can just use this whisk, and I just kind of eyeball my vanilla, and it's just, I don't know, it just always works out, and they're always delicious. This recipe does call for buttermilk. I never have buttermilk on hand. I don't know about you guys. So all it is a cup of milk to about 2 tablespoons of vinegar. 1 to 2 tablespoons. It's up to you. If you got chunky milk, you're doing good. Another chocolate chip muffin recipe where I'll say don't overmix it and don't go in. I'm telling you, this one is foolproof, you guys. Look at me. I just whisk that up and they're still going to be delicious. I'm adding about just over half a cup of chocolate chips because they are mini and I don't want them to be overwhelmed. In all honesty, you could probably not add the chocolate chips and just stick them in once you scoop your batter into here. That would work as well. I'm going to go ahead and spray it with a non-stick cooking spray and wipe down with a paper towel because I hate when it gets all brown, but that's just the Virgo and the perfectionist in me. I wanted to mention too, the cookie scoop I'm using here is smaller than the last. It is the perfect size for filling these mini muffin tins. Give it a good tap on the counter, and these cook at 400 for about 10 minutes. All right, you guys, so I follow a YouTuber. Her name is Darlene from A Peek Inside. She was one of the YouTubers who really inspired me to start my own channel. She is a fellow Canadian and she is in Ontario. Now, it was funny because when I started watching her channel, I'm like, she has the same containers as me. She has those Rubbermaid containers. They're lunch block containers. I just felt literally like we were connected immediately. Her husband's in the military. I'm a veteran. Anyway. Long story short, she would make these little snack containers up for her son to have in the cupboard, and it also encourages them to go ahead and eat. When you have boxes and boxes of crackers in my house, people just get overwhelmed and don't even want to open any of them to snack on them. So here I am just filling these up with all of the crackers so that they'll get used up because I had a lot of half boxes. I managed to get rid of 2 boxes of cheese nips. It was perfect. These will now sit in my snack cupboard. I can throw them into kids' lunches or my teenagers can grab them for school. Super easy, super convenient, and it's less wasteful than using Ziploc bags. So thank you, Darlene, for this awesome idea. Go and check her out.
As I'm walking to your place, I'm shaking. I am picturing the words in my mind. I cannot stand losing you. No, I will fight.
My kids love these mini muffins. They never last very long. Honestly, I'm not even sure these are going to make it to school, but I'm going to go ahead and store them in this Tupperware container. I usually use it to store hot dogs, but whatever, it fits mini muffins too. Then I will freeze the rest in a Ziploc bag with some parchment paper and we'll call it a day. So all in all, this food prep took me about an hour because I tried to time everything. You know, my bacon and my meatballs are cooling before I can store them so I can work on my muffins, all of that. So it's just about timing. I don't want to spend an entire day doing meal prep and food prep. I have, and I probably will again, but on a weekly basis, it's just about basic things that are going to make my family's life easier and just have food readily available at our fingertips. So I am storing this bacon. I cut it in half. I have this glass lock container, not my favorite, but it's one of the only ones that the lid actually works. So I'm going to stash my bacon in here. Everybody can use it if they want to put it in a soup, on top of a salad, make BLTs, or even reheat if we make breakfast in the morning. You just wrap it in a piece of paper towel, heat it up for about 15 to 20 seconds, and it's good as if you made it that morning. Anytime you're going to freeze something in a bag together like this or in a container, you want to flash freeze it, which means sticking it on a sheet in the freezer for about an hour or two, just until they're all individually frozen. Now I'm just going to scoop them all into a Ziploc bag, and I decided to split it into two dozen bags so that I could easily whip one out for a meal and it would feed all 6 of us. And did you see Charlie there? I almost lost my meatballs. I'm gonna go ahead and label these, but they never last more than a month, and I've never had any issues with freezer burn. I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, you guys, but food prep is all about what works for your family. I know there's a lot of really appealing videos out there and beautiful Instagram accounts all about pretty meal prep and perfect produce, but in my house, this is what works. I want my kids to eat this celery. I want them to eat those carrots, and I want to use up the bacon and eat it in all the fun ways I dream about during the week when bacon's not readily available to me, like BLTs and salads. Now it's ready. I can have it. I know I have snacks ready for the kids to go back to school this week. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it just simplifies a few extra steps that I don't have to do throughout the week. If that makes sense to you and you can implement any of these things in your life and they help you at all, that's perfect. And I'm happy that I shared this with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you tried any of these or what your favorite way is to store produce, what your favorite food prep things are, and maybe I'll give it a try in my next video. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in my next one.